Well, folks, I know that what I'm about to say is only my opinion. However, I believe strongly in what I'm about to say, but I believe that what I'm going to show you today is treason against the United States. Here it is. Judge orders Texas to remove disputed river border buoys by September 15th. Folks, this happened last week, and if you know anything about the immigration issue going on in the southern border right now, it is an absolute catastrophe. Not only that, it's a man-made catastrophe. So here it is. I guess it was the governor of Texas, Abbott. He had pushed for having these buoys that are put in the middle of the Rio Grande River. Now, for those of you who don't know the topography of Texas, you've got this river system. It's a pretty shallow river system called the Rio Grande that separates Mexico from Texas. And what they did was they put these orange buoys here with fences that go down to the bottom to dissuade people from coming over from Mexico into Texas. Now, look, my opinion, it perfectly makes sense. You need to control immigration to a degree, to a heightened degree, I believe. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is it's pretty much open borders. In fact, if I told you some of the stuff that I came across, I mean, you've got basically these companies going, I'm just going to tell you without the proof. Folks, what's happening is you've got companies going down to Central and South America basically saying, hey, go to America. The borders are wide open. If you can get there, we're going to give you phones and money. U.S. taxpayer money. I have an issue with that. Unbelievable what the heck is going on. What's more concerning is the fact that this is actually policy from the Biden administration. And I've got a link to this below in the description, where they flat out talk about they want there to be no borders around the United States. Folks, I personally find this treasonous. In fact, let's look at the definition of what treason is. And this is from the U.S. Constitution, which, by the way, this is one of the few things that the U.S. Constitution defines what is law. Here it is, Article 3, Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only of levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them comfort and aid. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses. Folks, I believe that this is really, to me, this is an act of war. What the judge has done is an act of war, because what they are doing is they are giving comfort. Granted, most of the people that are coming over, they are not the enemy. However, what's happened now, folks, the whole world has gotten wind of this. In fact, I have a friend of mine who wanted to go to the United States, but he couldn't get in. I said, just fly to Mexico and walk right in. They'll probably give you money and a cell phone. I mean, that's the reality of what's happening here. So how many people from around the globe do you think are actually who are our enemies, be it whether it be an Islamic State or the Chinese or whoever? There's a lot of people who want to destroy America. They're going to Mexico. They're walking right on over, and then who knows where they go from there. In fact, if you watched last week, Redacted, this is a whole other side of the story. If you watched Redacted last week, which I like those guys because they really give you news which the mainstream is not covering. Folks, Redacted last week basically talked about the child trafficking that is going on in the United States and how basically this open border policy, it's made it so accessible for so many people. And this is a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry of trafficking people and children, for that matter. Folks, look into this. I mean, the Sound of Freedom, that was just not even the tip of the iceberg. But as far as I am concerned, based on what the Constitution says, what this judge basically did right here, they have now aided and abetted criminals, for that matter, just to come on over with the greatest of ease. And the U.S. taxpayer basically is paying them to do so. Folks, if you don't see an issue with that, and I get it, it's all about human rights. Oh, human rights. And of course, the reason why the judge even allowed this is because, okay, they picked up a dead body off of the fence. Folks, most people have common sense. And the problem is when a lot of these lefties and a lot of these socialist programs, it's like, you want everybody to have kid gloves and not think for themselves. Maybe I'm just a dinosaur, okay? I get that. But the thing is, it's like, folks, we are all responsible for ourselves. At least that's the America that I grew up in. Beyond that, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just a nation full of snowflakes. And if that's offensive to you, that I'm calling you snowflakes, please just tune out. Okay? I mean, that's the greatest thing about America is that we have freedom of speech, I hope, that we can pretty much say and do just about anything that we want to. And these are freedoms that we need to be embracing. Look, I understand a lot of you might be for this open border policy. And look, I agree with the sentiment that I think America was, birthed on this whole premise of freedom, getting away from England and the taxes and everything. And of course, now if you look at the taxes that are going on in the US, it's out of control again. However, that's the whole idea of what was behind the birthing of America is the idea of freedom. And I think freedom and opportunity is still absolutely incredible in the United States compared to a lot of other countries out there. But the issue with this is that when you have an open border policy such as this, it opens the floodgates for a mass influx to put strain on the infrastructure of the United States that is absolutely not ready for it. They just do not have the resources for it. And that's one part of the reason why everybody is starting to feel the pinch. Is it the sole reason? No, it's not the sole reason. In fact, if you ask me, it's all orchestrated. They want the middle class gone because what's happening is the middle class has become the poor. Now the rich are just getting even richer. So look, this is all just opinion from me. But I just want to point to you something here. This is an article from Charisma News, which I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy, Frank Tureck. Frank is a great speaker, article writer, a very smart guy. He does a lot of things on apologetics. He wrote something recently on this border policy. I just want to read a little bit of an excerpt for you from his article. He goes on to say, "The truth is, everyone believes in secure borders. In fact, life would be impossible without them. As long as human nature is what it is, bent towards evil, that's true, borders will be necessary. The only question is, where am I going to draw the borders for my own security?" He also points out, look, do you have locks on your doors? How about your car? You may not want to secure the border of the United States, but you certainly want to secure the border of your home. The problem is the security of your home is affected by the security on your street, which is affected by the security on your town, which is affected by the security in your state and your country. See, that's what it boils down to here. And this is why this whole border issue on Texas is so important. In fact, I guarantee you, anybody from Texas, I feel for you people because I know you're feeling it firsthand. Because here it is, you've got, especially right there on the border, people are just walking right across the land. It's an issue, and it's become an issue because what they're doing is they're desperate and they're breaking into their homes. What's more, this administration has gone so far as to bus and put people on planes to put them all over the country. Do you think that you're going to be able to corral them back in at this stage? No, absolutely not. And in a lot of cases, what's now happened is you've introduced a whole amount of criminals into the United States. It's an issue. And that's the whole point of this and why everybody in the US needs to be fighting this. Folks, if you don't realize the gravity, let's think this through a couple of steps forward. Because ultimately what it does is it puts way too much pressure on the system, the economic system, the housing system, all the social systems that are within the United States that just hand out free money. It's way too much. And that's why everybody needs to have an issue with this, because before you know it, all of this, it has the potential of collapsing. Will it take the United States down? I don't know, to be seen, but keep in mind, US really isn't talked about in Revelation. Is this the reason why? Possibly. But if you ask me, this is all orchestrated. This is the Biden administration painting this wonderful picture of why open borders are awesome and is so fair for humanity. But it's masking the reality of the situation. Open borders it's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea because the long-term repercussions, it's going to be bad for the US in the long term. Now, Frank also goes on to say within this article, he says, so while an open borders policy may sound compassionate, it actually leads to disastrous results. This is because, like so many other utopian leftists' ideas, it ignores reality and misdiagnoses human nature. And that's the whole point of this. He finishes up by saying, we are blessed to live in America, but we need to recognize that it's impossible to have everyone live here. The best way to protect America and help people outside of our country is to control immigration at a sustainable level while exporting our ideas of economic and political liberty to other nations. And I agree with that completely. Bring the idea of freedom to the rest of the world. But that doesn't mean that everybody should come to America because it's just too much pressure on America. Folks, I don't know how all of this is going to end. I don't know how all of this exactly plays into the whole beast system. But what I'm trying to do for you today, you got to wake up. You got to get activated. That's probably the most important thing. It's one thing that we can talk about this and identify all of this. I get that. But the thing is, if there is no action involved, be it calling your politicians, talking to other people and getting them involved, and so where there is actually action going, where they put pressure on a judge like this one right here, because as far as I'm concerned, it is treason. And wouldn't that be something if a lawyer basically, or a prosecutor basically brought charges against the judge to say what you've done is treasonous? What do you think would actually happen then? You got to stand up. You got to do something, because just talking about it is not going to do a thing. Folks, that's my word for today. This is a very serious issue for me, and maybe it's because, look, I am 50 plus years old now. I remember the United States, especially in the 80s, when it was absolutely awesome, and the freedoms that we had were incredible. In fact, if you ask me, I believe it was 9/11 and everything that fell, all the laws that were implemented after that. I think that was kind of the tipping point for the United States. Oh boy. Well, folks, God is in control of all this at the end of the day. And again, we're not supposed to stand here doing nothing and just allowing it to happen. Faith is still in God, that He's in control, and I do believe that. However, I do believe it's God also gave us freedoms to do something about everything that's going on. Folks, that's it. I keep talking. If I keep talking, I'm going to keep talking. So anyway, thank you so much, guys, for giving me a voice here. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to this channel if you feel I'm worth it. And everyone, I hope to see you all next time.